Now we come to the slice that makes the single largest contribution to what makes Britain rich. It's finance. Britain's always been a financial powerhouse, but today 17% of the money created in our economy comes from things like the banks and pension funds, where you and I keep our savings, the services that support businesses like lawyers and accountants, and most importantly, the City of London. And where other traditional industries have gone into decline, the money business is booming. It's powerful, it's global, and it's growing more than twice as fast as the economy as a whole.
The City of London has made the most of its time zone and language advantages, and it's overtaking New York as the world's leading financial centre. The really big money in the city is made from fees from trading in money and shares on the stock exchange, and from managing the investment of cash from all around the globe.
It's sitting on the flows of money of the whole world, and basically it's clipping a little bit off the top as the money flows around.
So the rewards for the people who do something in the city are bigger than ever before. In a record award this Christmas, just under £9 billion was expected to be handed out in bonuses alone.
These guys are paid a huge amount of money. It's almost embarrassing how much. And each is paid probably very similar sums to the top footballers.
Give us an example. Well, I mean, you know, those guys sitting down there on their computers.
There'll be lots of people down there that I'd expect will get in excess of £1 million, and some will earn multiples of that. It's the...
Now, what's he probably shouting, that guy down there? Yeah. What's going on, do you suppose?
Somebody may have phoned up and said, right, I've got a portfolio of 100 million, which I want to sell for cash, do it. And now it's been distributed out round the world through the different traders, sales forces, and put out. They're probably be all done in 10 minutes. The organisation, has been fed.
London's by far the largest foreign exchange market in the world, with no less than 1/3 of all trading done here.
English is the world language of business, and I think that was a hugely important thing in establishing London as the place in this time zone to do financial business. You can make better deals for people, and you're the place to come.
The event that kicked off the city's growth was called Big Bang, Tory legislation that ended years of regulation of city business.
City stockbrokers were up early to get to grips with a revolution in the way they work. Out go many of the old methods, the slow old ways of concluding each share deal, the fat commissions for doing so.
Big Bang opened up the city, deregulating it and making it more competitive. It also relaxed rules about the ownership of city firms, enabling foreign banks to buy British finance houses. The effect was a frenzy of mergers and a more global financial system dealing in loads more money. This set the old square mile of the city bursting at the seams, so the frontier expanded eastward into Canary Wharf.
This place really does seem like a world away from places like Paisley and Shirebrook. It's a different country. There, globalization's had decidedly mixed effects, but here, everyone, unanimously, is singing its praises.
Since the first tenants moved in 15 years ago, Canary Wharf has grown to accommodate a workforce of 80,000 people.
The new city is the financial hub of a gigantic global network. This bank is one of the largest financial institutions in the world. This building alone employs over 8,000 people, and some of them manage enormous sums of money.
The people who work here specialise in all manner of fields. You should be forgiven if you find them completely mystifying. What it all boils down to is that they invest money for large institutions or extremely wealthy individuals.
What's the scale, David, of the business done in London?
It's a huge financial machine, London, these days. So something like £3.5 trillion worth of assets are controlled out of London and the UK in the wealth and the asset management businesses. That's pension funds, that's insurance companies, that's retail monies, and that's private wealth.
Of that £3.5 trillion, which seems like an astronomical figure to me, how much of that in sort of commissions and charges dribbles down into the British economy and does us good?
If you think that the asset management as a whole would probably target a 1% type gross fee on the assets that they look after, well then if you've got a total business of 3.5 trillion...
It's billions.
It will be billions in overall total terms, yes.
Now here, what do you personally do and what's your interest?
I look after the interests of very wealthy individuals. The key overriding criteria is normally the preservation of their wealth and the growth of their wealth.
And how has private wealth changed over the last 20 years or so?
Hugely. I mean, frankly, it's blossomed immeasurably. And I think we now have 54 billionaires in the top 1,000 list. And just going back to 1997, I think there were only 14. And
the rich are getting much richer.
The rich are getting much richer, and as a result of them coming to reside in the UK, often, I think something like 20 individuals have come over the last few years. That will have a very positive impact on the economy as a whole.
Britain's tax laws are kinder to the super rich than those of the US and most of Europe. Of those 54 billionaires, most are described as non-domiciled here. So they don't pay British tax on money made overseas, even though they live here. The people creating the biggest buzz in the world of finance at the moment run hedge funds. They have a reputation as the sharpest, wealthiest and most private wheeler dealers in finance. To find them, I have to go west from the city to Belgravia to meet Michael Hintzey, founder of one of the most powerful hedge funds in Europe.
Talk of the new replacing the old. Michael Hintzey's supermodern office is right here by Buckingham Palace. In this building, there's the old headquarters of the National Coal Board, one of the bastions of the old economy.
Michael Hintzey's firm, CQS, is based in London, though like most hedge funds, it also employs people overseas, in the Channel Islands, Hong Kong and Geneva. Its estimated worth is over £200 million, and Hintzey is the founder and owner.
If we could eavesdrop on what they call their confidential huddle right now, we would hear them making decisions that will send millions of pounds whizzing round the world. This is the exercise of financial power on a massive scale.
Hedge funds promise to make money for their clients, whether the market goes up or down. When they think a market is going up, they borrow money to buy shares, expecting a profit. But if they think the market will fall, they borrow the shares, sell them for a high price, and then buy them back cheaply later, in time to give them back to their owner, pocketing the difference.
It's mighty risky, isn't it, what you're doing? Do you feel this is gambling in some way?
I don't like betting personally, but we do play the odds. To do that properly, you need to have a lot of very complicated and potentially sophisticated analysis to make it work. You're quite correct. Please don't do this at home without parental supervision. It is a complicated business.
Last year, there were well over £200 billion worth of hedge fund assets in Europe. 90% of them managed through London.
But why aren't you in Paris or Frankfurt? Surely they're big financial centres.
Well, the infrastructure's not there, the people are not there, the regulatory regime is, I think, a lot more, and from what I've seen, is a lot more aggressive. It's a good place to do business here. In my view, the Treasury has been pretty successful in attracting funds here. I think they've done a good job.
It seems we've struck a deal with the hedge fund millionaires and with the big global finance houses as a whole. The deal is the UK gives them tax breaks and regulates them more lightly than other countries, and in return they base themselves in London, and so the UK gets the benefit of all the money their financial activity generates.
What would you say to people watching you make all this money? How relevant are you, or how are you helping them?
The very fact that there is so much activity here makes the markets more efficient. And if the markets are more efficient, it makes them cheaper. It makes mortgages for people cheaper. It makes loans for companies in various parts of England cheaper. It, frankly, also adds to the exchequer. There is an enormous spin-off of the activity we've got here.
There's one good reason why we should bite our lips and be glad these people are doing so well. The cash flow generated by all this dynamism helps finance Britain's deficit with the rest of the world. These financiers are actually bringing into Britain tens of billions of pounds more than they're sending out.
This huge surplus in the export of our financial know-how helps make up for the fact that we're importing more manufactured goods than we're selling abroad. It's an example of the knowledge economy at its most successful. Rapid growth, high productivity, huge return. What's more, finance employs only 4% of the UK workforce, but contributes 12% of total income tax. Back in 1957, more than 40% of the workforce worked in manufacturing, more than any other time in the 20th century. Britain prided itself on being a nation of skilled workers who built things and made things. Now, we're told by economists like Will Hutton, that's all a thing of the past.
Is this knowledge economy going to be enough to replace the wealth that we got from producing things in manufacturing and factories and so on?
You mustn't just think in wealth of things that spew out of factories. I mean, advice about where to go on holiday, how to learn to paddle a canoe or climb a mountain, how to learn to use advanced computer software. These are services which people wrongly say are candy floss jobs or hamburger jobs. They're not. They're adding real value. They're meeting real demand. They're satisfying real human desires. The point of economic activity is not to make lots of kind of unsold cars. The point of economic activity is to make people happier. It's to give you more well-being. That's the whole point of the exercise.
Yes, but what on earth happens to the people who were there with those hundreds of thousands of jobs in the traditional economy when faced with the prospect of the knowledge economy?
Well, there are problems with it. There's a whole bunch of what in the jargon we call soft skills that actually you need to possess in the knowledge economy, and people who don't have them are being left behind, and that is an absolutely solid criticism of it. Also, it does tend to create more inequality. People at the top are earning fabulous sums of money in this new world. People at the bottom who are marginalised are not. But if you ask me, the basic proposition, is this the trajectory of the economy over the next 20 or 30 years? I think it's a no-brainer. It's obvious, it's happening before our eyes, it has been happening, and it will continue.